want to say virtual installment series, one of many. As the times have changed, we had to find different ways to still grow with you guys and keep with our promise of growing with the community we fostered. One of the things that we thought was a good idea was to have somebody on who could support and help everybody going through this tough time. And Angie, we met at the first installment for a brunch and boost, and I was like captivated by you, your personality, your spirit, and you seemed like the perfect person to reach out to. So with that said, introduce yourself, your credentials, let everybody know that we serious over here.
Okay, no problem. Like Aya said, my name is Angela Reese Aris. I am a licensed social worker. I graduated from Hunter College, and I currently work at an outpatient mental health clinic in East New York as a psychotherapist. I also work as a behavioral specialist with early intervention, and that's my 9 to 5. And then my 5 to 9 is me, like how we met is that I have a passion for building a parent and child mental wellness program, and I'm working on that too. I also have a 2-year-old and a husband, so if you hear random children in the background, that's just her. So how is my sound? I just want to make sure this is my first time doing a live. So
I can hear you, but now it just went out a little bit. But I was hearing you fine.
Okay.
So we're doing this because one of my biggest things is to be of use to anyone else. You first have to be of use or complete within yourself, or as complete as you can be. To render care for someone else, you have to be able to render care. So in these times, it could be hard because there's a lot of people walking around who are struggling from losing someone to even losing their job, or trying to worry how they're going to get from paycheck to paycheck, or even juggling things such as now if you work from home, you have to work, then you have to be the teacher and you have to be the chef or anything like that. So we took some questions beforehand to try to get, a sense of what people wanted to hear or what people needed help with. Okay. So one of the questions were, how do you not learn to invalidate your own feelings because your feelings matter, but sometimes you feel guilty about what you feel when you see people in worse situations? So that was from Shoshana Brooks. So her struggle was, she feels some type of way about something, but she sees somebody in who's more worse off than her, and then she starts feeling bad for feeling bad to begin with.
And so it's like, why do I feel bad if I'm not in the worst predicament that I'm seeing? So thank you for that question. It's a good one to start with. My first thing is to say that shows that you have a lot of empathy for other people. It shows that you're aware of your surroundings, you're aware of your emotions, and you have some insight. So that's really good. And the reason I point that out is because I will want to talk about the and statement. So the and statement is something I came across in grad school, and it talks about the fact that there are always 2 truths in any situation. So I can feel sad about my loss in this stay at home and everything and all the things that are changing within my life, and I can feel sad and have empathy for other people who are not necessarily doing as well or have as many blessings or are having a harder time than I am. And the 2 can coexist. So that's how you validate yourself. So when you're thinking about it, just to give like a tangible example, when you're thinking about it and you find it like, dang, I shouldn't, just stop it. Just stop the thought. The thought that you have is, I feel really bad about not being able to see my friends anymore. And I'm grateful that I still have a job, and I still feel bad about this person I heard about on TV today. And that's how you validate your feelings, by allowing yourself to feel the first and allowing yourself to feel the second.
So it doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be both. Okay,
yes,
great.
Yes.
So Shoshana, I hope that answers your question. Another question was, what would you say to folks whose coping mechanisms are closed? For instance, someone's only form of self care is getting manicures and pedicures. But now that all of the nail salons are closed, what does she turn to?
That is a hard one because I would want to know if I was in a session with this person, I would want to know more about why this self care speaks to you. Um, and those are the questions you're going to have to ask yourself. I know for me, manis and petties mean I can sit in a chair, no one talks to me, and I don't have to have patience. As you see, I don't have a nail on right now. I don't have the patience to
You
do
look
it
big as you
myself. um, and so I don't have the patience to do it. But if you have the patience to do it, and that's something that's important to you, I say do it yourself. The nail salon, the beauty supply line was super long right before it closed in my neighborhood because everyone was racking up on press-ons and
are.
manicure sets because they like that pampering feeling.
Right.
So that's what it speaks to. It's more about the like wanting to look neat and having everything look color coordinated or expressing yourself through the colors. Then definitely go ahead and still do it. But if it speaks to something deeper, like feeling whole or another part of yourself, then I would want encourage you to tap into like what it is that can also bring back to you. So some other ideas of coping skills that you can turn to, just to give some ideas, like if you like the creativity, you could probably paint or draw or color. If it's about presentation, maybe do something in your home, a project you always thought about or something you've seen on Pinterest and it's like, oh, that would be really cool. Walk through that. But if it's something about like feeling like, oh, people are not going to see me the way that I am, I would reflect on that and process that, like a
Okay.
journal entry or something like in that
Okay.
order.
Okay. Another question is how to cope when it's literally everywhere, constantly, and of course, it being, people passing away and the virus.
All right. So I, in my sessions lately, I have been hearing this comment a lot, and I've been feeling this way too. It's like every time I open up Instagram, it's COVID first and all my memes later. And that's hard. I think that we as a society are going through a loss together. And sometimes when people talk about loss and grief, they're talking about specifically people. I think we have to take a step back and think about the loss of lifestyle, the loss of person, the loss of routine, which people experience throughout their life. Like as you get older, like you turn 30 and you're like, oh, there goes the loss of the 20s. And what does this mean? You start to have those reflection conversations, right?
Child, yes. Yeah.
Like, clench your pearls. But this
Yeah.
one was kind of forced on us. Like
Right.
we weren't thinking about losing our daily routine. We weren't thinking about losing our coworkers per se, or losing our Starbucks run, or losing our trip to Sephora every 2 weeks,
Or vacations. Yeah.
losing your vacation, losing your
Yeah.
birthday plans. And so I think if you start to look at it in that way, you can start to figure out how to then create boundaries with how much loss you're taking in. So
Okay.
when you turn on the news, you're thinking about the loss of people and the illness and the virus, but you don't have to watch the news as much as you might. I find that for me and for a lot of people around me and a lot of people that I speak with and during my daytime job is they need those limits from the information because the media is only going to talk about the bad because they need ratings. And there are some people that they absorb that energy and are okay with that. But not everyone can take in all of that negative and all that sadness and handle their day the same way. So I would say create a boundary with the amount of news that you're watching. That's the first big thing. The other thing is to think about what it is that you're missing in this change, and start to address those. So if you're missing your coworkers and you're missing the break between like your daily schedule and then your home schedule, I would say like make a schedule for work and don't fill in your work breaks with like home breaks. So I noticed
Okay.
working from home, I was cleaning dishes at times where I would then like call a friend,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
and
Yeah.
I'm like, where's my day going? And why does
Yeah.
everything start to feel just like this? It's just one big
Right.
mush. The day starts and ends, and you don't know where it went.
And
So
sometimes you don't know
create
what day it is.
that too. Like it's true because it all just starts to feel
Yeah.
like one long day.
Right.
So create that 9 to 5 schedule. So if you would wake up, put on a different outfit, and then talk to your friends in between emails, or
Mhm.
you have somebody on FaceTime that you could talk to while you run a report. Still do those things because that will help create some more normalcy. Turn the TV off because you're not watching TV at work.
Very
Those are
true.
like some
Yeah.
small, yeah, like some small
Um,
tangible steps you can take to help create
mhm.
that boundary.
Okay.
And I know with kids it's hard.
Yes.
This just popped into my mind. I know with kids it's hard because then you're taking on the school teacher hat too. But I think having that schedule and mirroring it for your kids and yourself will also help to balance the workload with that. So
Okay.
if you could think about setting it up, like you're here at your desk and then your kids are here at their desk. But guys, we're still at school. You're still at school. Would you be talking to me as much as you are if you were still at school? No. I'll
So
check in with you in another 15 minutes.
it's provide structure and boundaries for yourself as well as the other people in your household, right?
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
exactly,
I see how
exactly.
that could. Yeah, that's great.
And
That's great
then
advice.
and also for your work people too, because I'll give an example. I know someone whose boss has been calling them at 7:30 when on a regular work day they don't speak after 5. So even
Yeah.
creating those type of boundaries.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. How
Uh,
does someone?
I
Okay.
real quick, I can't see the comments, so I don't know
Okay.
if I'm
Oh,
saying.
nobody.
Okay, okay,
Yes,
okay,
everybody's saying good point. Nobody has asked a question as yet,
okay,
and
okay,
everybody's just waving and
okay,
joining. So we're speaking to like around 18 to 20 people. Okay,
okay.
yeah, and we got a few hearts. Hey.
Hey. Also, let me know if there's something I say that you want me to expand on too, like for the
Okay,
people in the comments.
right. So you guys here, if you want her to expand on something or mention something, I know the kids piece. Okay. So is there any way we can save this live? So I started screen recording before we even started the live. So this live is being saved as we speak. Lovely. Well, Shoshana said you're giving good advice. Basically, keep going. But yes,
Okay.
so everybody's asking. I started a screen record, so yes, this live is currently being saved. Okay.
All right. Cool.
Another question was, how does someone not have constant anxiety around some of those people who were perfectly fine a week ago and now they're gone? Could this happen to me or my family?
Okay. So I want to talk about what the anxiety is. So anxiety, I feel like is a mental health tag. A lot of people say it. They're like, I have
Yes,
so
it's
much anxiety, and it's like,
being heavily used nowadays. Yes.
right, right. So being anxious and being nervous is a normal response to life. I think
Okay.
I'll even take a step back. Emotions, period, are like teeth, right? We have
Mhm.
them. There are a lot of them, and you go through your life with them from the minute you're born to the minute you will start to lose them. And so with that being said, is you brush your teeth every day, you go to the dentist like once a year or every 6 months, depending on what you need. If you need braces, you get them. I think we should start treating our emotions the same way. So
That's
doing daily
dope.
check-ins, doing like things for yourself that lift your mood or check in on your mood, your temperature check. That's what we call it with the kids. On a regular basis will help you gauge if you're actually experiencing anxiety in
Hmm.
the expanded
Clinical
version
form.
and what
Hmm.
in a clinical form exactly, or is it just
Hmm.
regular being nervous and
Yeah.
being anxious about things that are happening around you? Um, So we're all anxious right now because we don't know what is necessarily going to happen. The
Right.
unknown, scary place.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling anxiety right now, that's completely normal.
Right.
But if you find that the thoughts are protruding through your day and you can't get things done and you're not able to lift yourself no matter what you try, let's say you watch this live, you're Googling things and you're finding that you're having a hard time being stuck, I would say to then speak to someone else about it.
Okay.
Speak to a professional about it if your friends are like not catching your drift or not understanding what you're trying to say. Um, and take your precautions. Read the information that you hear from other people. Like find the articles themselves, find the facts themselves, look for the positive stories. When this all first started, because like I said, I work at a clinic, I'm still going to work.
Okay.
So I had 1 week off, 1 week on.
Okay.
And the experience of going to work when all of this was first started was anxiety provoking, even for me. Like I talk to kids about anxiety all day, and I'm sitting here feeling my heart race, my blood pressure. I'm feeling a little shortness of breath. I'm like, this can't be coronavirus. Please, 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 just be anxiety.
Yes.
It's true because
That's
the
everybody's
thing,
thought. Yeah.
right? The minute you have a little tick in your throat, you're
Yeah.
like,
That you, Rona? That you?
you at the door. So with that being said, what helped me personally was finding the facts because I found myself getting caught up in all the death and dying and not looking at the people who are getting it and then surviving. So I've seen both perspectives because I have friends and family members who, some people have passed, but then there's some people who have come on the other side, even after being in the hospital for so long.
Right.
Um, and I think with having that knowledge, you can start to build the perspective and start to
Okay.
manage those thoughts that are making your anxiety rise.
So I tell people all the time, like feelings. To me, if you don't feel anything, there's a problem. So feelings are
Mm.
normal. And girl, you need to figure out a presentation or something to coin your comparison to teeth because that was a gem right there. So a lot of people were in the comments like, yes, that is a presentation within itself. Okay, so
Let me write that
yes.
down.
Any tips on working from home? I am a bit depressed, being that I'm typically more of a socialite. What can I do when I'm used to going out 3 times a week and now I'm confined to my apartment?
um, what can she do? So that goes back to the feelings of grief
Mm-hmm.
and loss. The first step would be to definitely say and acknowledge how you're feeling. And when I say acknowledge and say it, I don't like some people when we talk about how we feel, we talk about the things that are making us feel some type of way, but we may not ever name the emotion or name
Okay.
what those experiences are connected to. So it's really like I am feeling awful about not being able to gossip with my friend at the
Mm-hmm.
printer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling awful about not linking for drinks this weekend. I'm so sad that I have to spend my birthday inside this year.
Right.
So that's naming it so that you can then get it out of your head, get it out of your mental state, and then start to become creative about how to build that connection back. Because if you're a socialite, it's about people to people
Okay.
um, and the experience, of course. So what I would say to her is to don't withdraw. Use FaceTime. Use Zoom. Call the same people you would call on a daily basis. Call the people you would link with 3 times on those 3 days.
Right.
Um, and then with going outside, still go outside. Granted, we have to wear our mask and social distancing, but we have to go outside for our overall health because we need
Yes.
vitamin D for our immune system.
Sometimes I could feel so flushed. And I'm telling you, not even I don't even want to say like go for a walk, but if I just want to get gas, for some reason I just feel so much more energized, and that level of just isn't there. And that was just from going to get gas. I definitely agree
Right.
with you on that. So
Yes. So even if I know a lot of people who are like, when I say like you should go outside, they're like, ooh, no, never. But when I say go
Mm,
outside, that could just be like go to the gas station. That could just be
right.
volunteer to do the store run. That could just be stand in front of your building,
Hmm.
sit on your porch, or walk to the corner, walk back. It doesn't
Right.
have to be in a place that will then create more anxiety. Um,
Right.
and there's a lot of people doing it because I I rode by Prospect Park the other day. It was like nice. It looked like smorgasbord or
Oh,
something was
yeah.
happening. The number of people that were outside.
Where people have been cooped up way too long, but I definitely agree with that. I'm sure there's some kind of science behind it, but all I know is I could be like, huh, when I walk outside, it's like, ah. So,
Yeah, the science
yeah.
behind it is the vitamin D that
Uh-huh.
comes from the sun. Even when it's not
Mm,
like a bright and sunny day, the sun is still out. So
right.
some people don't like going out when it's cloudy, but the UV rays are still coming through, and that's what
Okay.
boosts your happy hormones, for
Okay.
lack of a better word. And then on top of that, fresh air. Um, I was just reading a article about with the Spanish flu in 1919, how they used fresh air therapy. So they literally were just
Uh-huh.
laying sick people out in lawns, and they found that
Really?
helped improve their
Wow.
symptoms. Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's the science behind it in a basic non-medical version. Um,
Okay.
so something that you said before with feeling numb. Some people I've been speaking to some people who say they have been feeling numb, and then they're worried about feeling numb. Like everyone's having an emotional reaction and I'm not, and I feel like that's a bad thing. Feeling numb sometimes is the shock.
Yes.
Um, so which is why I keep going back to like the check-ins with yourself, because you may feel
Hmm.
numb, but it could just be like, this is just too much information. I can't even believe this is happening to me, which is
Okay.
more
Hmm.
the surprise, the shock, the not understanding what's happening. So,
Okay. So, and to me, sometimes those feelings, they surface much later,
mm-hmm,
because once you get rid of the shock, it's then you start to feel, you
right,
know. And I also want to encourage people not to ostracize anybody. We all handle grief differently. I'm not
exactly,
speaking from a clinical perspective because this is not my area of expertise, but I am speaking from a personal experience. And everybody grieves differently. Some
right,
people, I know somebody who was probably strong in like the first, I want to say, 1 or 2 weeks, and then as they got acclimated to life without this person, or certain things started to hit, is when they started to feel. So again, like, I just want to encourage people, be mindful that everybody grieves differently and everybody's process is different. Okay. So,
exactly. And then you can go through those waves, and it's not
mhm.
like a linear process. Like you can start off strong and have a dip, and then one day you wake up and you're like, oh, I feel okay today. And it'll circle around. And since we're talking about the loss of lifestyle, just like the loss of that person, you'll have
Mhm.
those experiences because you are losing multiple things at the same time.
Girl, one day I cry over a fork. I don't know, like, it's like your day is going, you in the kitchen cooking, and then the fork drops. Like, oh, you're like, how I went through all this all day and I'm crying over a fork. But
Right, right. It's true because that's the moment it came out. It was like your body
yeah.
was like, not too much, too much. We gotta. The fork made your emotions be like too much, too much.
So one person said, a couple of people are saying, yes, it's a cycle. Some are saying, oh, they're panicked. And then it was like back to panic. Why are we living through a state of trauma right now?
Hmm.
Would you say that we are living through a state of trauma right now? That's a question.
Would I say we're living through a state of trauma right now? So
Mm,
trauma is, I would say yes, because trauma is an experience that it causes an increased amount of stress, and elevated emotions over a duration of time. Um,
okay.
so I would say yes. What changes how trauma affects people, is how they respond after it's said and done. So
Okay.
let's say we get to the other side of the whole shift of life. So we're able to go back to work in some form or fashion. we're able to go back to brunch, back to see our family freely, not have to worry about the spread as high as it is, then you start to see, are you reacclimating, or are you starting to still feel as sad as you did in that period of time? And then you have to like reorganize how you're going to deal with that part, because then that's when it starts to turn to like post-traumatic stress, because the trauma has ended, the event has ended, it's gone, but then you're still feeling this way a year later or 9 months later.
Okay. Or just living separately. So okay, I agree with that, and I thank you for differentiating between the two, because I think PTSD also gets thrown around or whatever. You know, anytime you
Right.
hear these clinical terms, everybody's like, "Oh, now I got it. I grew up in the hood. Now I got it." Like I'm like, relax. Okay.
Right.
One person asks, what would you recommend or say for someone who's living alone and they're kind of basically lonely, so to speak?
So they don't have someone in the house with them. I would say,
That's ideal because nobody could call for you. But now let me stop. Okay.
I would say to stay connected. Make sure you stay connected. I know it's probably easy just to get into the routine of your day, and get lost in the hours. But I would say be intentional about checking in with other people, and then also voicing that you would like those check-ins, because some people may not know you are open to socializing, because everyone is dealing with the stress of the situation differently.
I want to touch on that because I know I'm glad you said not everybody we might not think people are open, but I'm a big fan of even superheroes need saving at times. You know, I say check on your strong friends, check on your
Right,
happy friends.
right,
I'm even going to go as far to say is check on your enemies or who you perceive to be an enemy. You know what I'm
right.
saying? If you had, this is not the time, I don't feel, for misunderstandings, for family feuds, whatever the case may be. Um, out in this day and age, I will feed my enemy, and that's my point. And I use my social media platforms to try to spread that light. Whether I
Mm-hmm.
haven't spoken to you in 5 years, 10 years, whatever the case may be, a lot. Me and my family, we had some falling outs or whatever. And my first line to them is, "Are you okay? Do you need anything? Are you
Mm-hmm.
okay? Do you need anything?" Because I feel that in this day and age, that is so powerful to some people. Or some people might really be in a situation and be afraid to reach out because pride, ego, or because of what may
Right,
have had happen in the past. You know,
right.
so I take the time to say to anybody, support your neighbors, support your friends, family, and I don't like to use the word enemy, but I hope everybody understands the context in which I'm saying it. But feed your enemy. Feed some people don't. There's no face to hunger. There's no face to homelessness. There's no face to strife. We carry this on
It's
our
true.
backs. I feel like as women of color, we carry a certain level of trauma on our backs.
It's
And to
true.
me, instead of wearing it as a badge of honor, take some time and say, yo, I need help. I need
Mm-hmm.
help. Thank you. Thank you for that one meal. Thank you for that cup of coffee. Thank you.
It's
So
true. It's
please
true.
reach out. Check on your strong friends. Check on your happy friends. Check on people. Please. Today is not the time right now, okay?
Right. And then
Um,
also to your point, some people like that checking on part, it doesn't have to be like you the one to initiate the contact. It could
yeah.
be in the, if you are a meditator or like believe in like the passing of energy, then it's like I wish this onto this person who I haven't spoken to, if you're not ready for that step. Or 6 degrees of separation, who do you know that still talks to that person? Who do you know?
Right.
Hey, have you because you guys have the connection, have you checked on, have you heard from? And then now put
Right.
the idea like, okay, let me, oh yeah, I haven't, let me go do that, so that you
Yeah.
are spreading that love, spreading that caring, spreading that positive energy without it becoming like a stress, because then it's like, now I gotta go, I don't want
Yeah.
anyone to hear, now I gotta go heal and I'm not
Not
ready for
even
that
that.
forgiveness.
Yeah, I don't want to feel like a sucker. Like I don't want to feel like I ain't messaging nobody. It ain't time for that right now. All right, make sure you breathing. You need CPR. You good? ain't time for that right now. And a lot of times we let our pride and our ego get in the way. To me, what this has shown is like now is the time for humanity, for
Yeah, it's true.
community, for
It's
that
true.
village we always speak of. Okay, now is the time. And to me, in that, I find a sense of solace. Because one, I know that this person is okay, and then two, I know that I have done all that I can within my realm, my reach, my
Right.
scope, whatever the case is. So that in itself will be beneficial as well. That's just my opinion.
Right. Right. It is a coping strategy. Definitely taking care of other people or doing good for other people is a distraction because it takes you out of your own mind. It takes you
Mm-hmm.
into how can I help this person or how can I help this group of people? And it doesn't have to be people you know. If there's you see something on the news like I have a friend who was like, I keep seeing these conversations about kids not having laptops. Like, what's that about? I wonder
Mm-hmm.
what I could do about that.
Mm-hmm.
There it goes. I have another friend who started like a social media connect to connect thing. Like if she found out somebody needed help, she's like, yo, this person needs help. Can anyone help them? Now it's like a two ways
That's dope.
conversation.
That's nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
So
nice.
there's so many ways to
Yeah.
reach out to your strangers, reach out to your enemies without it having to
Mm-hmm.
feel like a daunting task.
Right. Another question we got was, can you begin to heal from this even though we're in the midst of
Yes.
it?
Sorry, I didn't
Yeah. Uh-huh.
mean. Yes, you can. How you do that? So, all right, I'm gonna approach this question from like a session point of view.
Okay.
So the questions would be, how were you doing before going into this emotionally? Like, where were you in life?
Right.
Um, what was happening? What was causing negative emotions? What was preoccupying your thoughts? Then from there, how has the situation intense those feelings, or is it like just two separate things? Because I think that has a lot to do with how people are handling it too. Because if you were
Mm-hmm.
going in this hungry and you working paycheck to paycheck and you worried about finances, now you done lost your job. That sets you back a completely
Yeah.
different type of
Yeah.
way. And those are the things that you have to focus on because that's where the crux of your emotions really are because of that
Okay.
economic instability that was already there. And this just put like lighter fluid and set it on fire.
Okay.
To give like a concrete example, but with emotions, it's much more nuanced, not as black and white. And so that's where I would start with those types of conversations. So if you're ways to do that by yourself, journaling, finding writing prompts to do like daily reflections of your mood. And, I'm shameless plug, get a therapist. If you're not able to do it by yourself, because it is a hard
Uh-huh.
conversation to have. And not everyone has the skill to see both sides of what they're experiencing. Because that's a skill you have to grow and nurture
Especially
like a
when you're
tea,
in it.
especially when you're
Right.
in it. I know for myself, I'm a person that I had to learn how to do that. I used to wait until the situation was over and then go back and process it.
Right.
But you miss the details and the gritty stuff when you like look back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the personal growth really happens, is when you're really getting into those fine tooth knots like you do with your hair, those ones in the
Mm-hmm.
middle that will just grow and become like a
Uh-huh.
huge situation later on.
Yeah.
That's how you
Uh-huh.
have to treat your emotional health and your mental wellness.
Mhm. So I totally agree with you on that, and I think my prized possession where I am now is, personally speaking, is a level of self awareness and insight, and that came from therapy. I feel like in our community is very understated. Sometimes it's deemed shameful or whatever the case may be. But there's a lot of us walking around. I see a meme all the time with scars that we haven't even healed from yet,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why doing this to me was very important. One, to shake the stigma aspect of it.
Right.
Two, to provide help to whoever felt like tuning in or watching. And three, letting people know that it's okay to step outside yourself,
Right.
sometimes. I feel like when we know we can't do a certain hairstyle, we go to the hairdresser. When we know we can't put them acrylics on, we go to the nail salon. So if we know that we can't fix ourselves, not saying that we're necessarily broken, but if there's an aspect of us that is fractured at the moment, why can't we go get that laid as well? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right,
why
right,
can't we?
right.
So
And then we start to talk about it that way, it makes it normal. And your emotional health is just that. You don't not, well, some people choose not to go to the doctor, but then they choose other remedies. I
yeah,
still, even if therapy, that step may feel daunting right now, I definitely think focusing on your emotional health, period, is huge because your emotions are with you wherever you go. And every part of your brain, every part of your body is connected to the stimulus that happens that brings out the emotions that you see, without getting all sciencey about it.
yeah.
So yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying, Aya. Like you definitely have to get your emotions laid.
And I
Straight
also
up.
want to point out or say, because this is something that I hear, or because for me, I preach it from the rooftops, just because I know what it has done, like for me and my ability to like express myself in a certain manner and things like that. Um, Therapy doesn't necessarily equal medication. And I think that's a myth. And if you could debunk that or, even speak on that a little bit, because some people hear therapy and automatically think medication.
Right, right. So someone else, I'm glad that you said that because when I was talking to someone about this topic, they said to me, I feel like therapists are always like trying to beat you over the head
Mm-hmm.
with it,
Mm-hmm.
because they believe in it so much. And so, but when they're on the other side, that's what they see. They see the medical model. So medication with, I'll go, okay, let me put on my work hat. So I work at an outpatient mental health clinic, and we service individuals who have severe mental health disorders, a diagnosis. So these are people who have been hospitalized, most likely, or have been through so much emotional hardship that they're not able to, their body is no longer able to produce the healing in itself. So they elect or are encouraged or are made to take medication to address it. So there's a couple of things that go with that. Um, Without getting, oh man, I feel like this is going to get long-winded, but
Mm-hmm.
your medical history, your genetics, family history, all those things play into that trajectory, right? What you do on your free time, whether you use drugs, eat, exercise, like all those things go into this picture when someone makes this decision. Or if they're hospitalized and the doctors make that decision for you. That's like over here. If we're talking about levels, that's like the most extreme cases. Um, what I'm more talking about is on this side, where you're literally having a professional who is on the outside of your life, can give different perspectives and just talk. Because that's exactly what it is. And there's a range in between. I know people and clients who have been on this side, have been hospitalized, have been on medication, and have gotten skills and learned what has happened to them in their life and changed their behaviors. And now they're on this side where they're literally just coming once a month. They don't take medication at all.
Mm-hmm.
So that just shows you what preventive measures do when you
Mm-hmm.
get outside of your own head. And that's what a lot of times happens with the more severe diagnosis like bipolar disorder and things like that. It's literally because your brain no longer knows how to separate or doesn't have the skill set or doesn't have the load to be able to separate the emotions, the thoughts.
Okay.
So then it
So
starts
you just
doing
don't have
wacky
the mental
things.
capacity to do so, basically.
Well, it's not that or it's overworked,
Okay.
kind of like a
Okay.
heart or a kidney.
Oh.
It's just been mishandled over too long a period, and all these other factors make it literally be like, yeah, I'm checking out. I can't do this anymore.
Okay.
Um, I'm making too much dopamine, which is what happens with depression. Here, you have all the dopamine. Take it, take it, take it.
Okay.
And then that's where medication will come in that aspect. But there are food you can eat. There is like whole other type of holistic regimens that can address that same thing,
Right.
which is why I'm saying preventive. Why wait to get all the way over over here when you can access services or access a therapist to just talk to without having all those other avenues.
Extremes, right? Okay. So the last question is, and you kind of led into that at the end, is do you have any resources for looking for a therapist in this time? Because, you know,
Yes.
a lot of people aren't doing in-person visits or whatever the case may be. So,
Right. So it's a very interesting time to try to find a therapist. But there are a lot of therapists out there. I posted on this page a link to like this page that I made, an Excel spreadsheet with
this page
coping skills.
being at
Yes, Iris the
drop the
therapist.
plug. Yes,
Iris the
okay.
therapist. Iris the
Underscore
therapist.
the underscore
Underscore Iris.
therapist.
Yeah, ARIS underscore the underscore therapist. Yes,
Okay,
drop the
good.
plug.
Okay.
Thank you, Aya.
Uh-huh.
um, yeah, so I made a resource page. It has coping skills ideas on there, physical, processing, distraction, and relaxing. Broke them up. Just some things that work for people that I know. I asked friends, and we filled that in, as well as a couple of workbooks that I usually use in my sessions. And then I also, on the other page, have links to both crisis lines. So if you just want like a one-time 24-hour, 7-day a week line where you can call and get linked to a mental health professional within New York State. New York State has opened up that service. That link is there. The phone number is there. There's suicide prevention phone number on there, DV prevention phone number on there, as well as a link to the state's like coronavirus resource page. And then I also have the links for Psychology Today. That is a search page for therapists, psychologists, and treatment centers in all over U.S. And it narrows it down from insurance to location to specialty, and they'll list all the therapists that are fit within like your criteria. And then I also have therapy for Black girls on there, which is a similar page, but
That's
it's just
what I was
African
getting into.
American. Yes, yes, yes.
We feel more comfortable with people that look like us and understand our plight. Like I need you to
Exactly.
understand why I'm so angry.
Right. Without taking it as I'm the angry Black girl in your own perspective.
What's
Yeah,
the
it's true.
problem?
Yeah.
Um,
Then I also have two personal resources, two colleagues that I actually have worked with in the past. Their information on there that are actually accepting televisits as of right now. The Psychology Today and Therapy for Black Girls will show you people, but you know, the description will say whether they're accepting new patients or doing televisits and things like that.
So we're going to have all that information I'll collect from you and I'll post so that could be accessed and, you know, linked to wherever. But one, I just want to say thank you so much. Like, thank you so much for this. From the comments, it was very meaningful. Thank you guys for participating.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yes, this was definitely needed. I'm going to say that I would love to see more from you in your professional capacity.
Okay.
Because what I heard today, you got some stuff, girl. You got
Thank
got
you.
some stuff. I would need like a presentation, a PowerPoint reference.
Yes, let's do it. I am open.
You got some fire there, and that tooth analogy, I'm really. You need to coin that, trademark that.
I need to come talk. I need my next brunch and boost to make sure I get my copyright stuff together, girl.
Yes, because it's wonderful. It's refreshing. And I just want everybody to know, like, this wasn't practice. Like, this is your area of expertise. You are very well spoken. And I thank you so much. Where could people find you right now? Could you just repeat that for clarity, just so people can know where to go?
So my therapy page is Aris, ARIS _the therapist. So Aris the therapist. And then my personal page is Angie __ sweets. I just want to keep more organized because my regular page is all over the place.
Makes sense. That's more
mental
like
health, there's kids, there's coupons and CMOS and memes.
Look, I'm about the coupons and the CMOS though. Okay.
So yeah, you guys can DM me. I also do private sessions. I'm just starting out, so
Right.
I'm making sure to get all that together as well. So yeah, and if I don't have the capacity, I could definitely link you to someone who does.
That's Thank you so much for saying that, because I think I find comfort in knowing that you're self-aware enough, or you're still down to earth with us common folk enough to say, even if I can't solve whatever, I'll definitely find you someone who will, or whatever. And that's very important as well. And to me, that brings back the sense of the community. Each one teach one, pass it on, pay it
Right,
forward. So
right.
thank you again. My closing sentiment is going to be hang in there.
Yes,
Our mission was to grow with our audience, and we're trying to do that, and we're finding very, very creative ways to do that, such as this one. And if you don't do anything tonight, please check on your neighbor, check on your friend, check on your family, check on anybody, see if they need anything. You might need something. Don't be afraid to reach out. In this
mm-hmm.
time, pride is secondary. We need each other.
Yes,
We being that, to me, we as a community, we're going faster than anybody, considering certain socioeconomic things.
right,
So we
right.
really need each other in this time. Stick together. If anybody have any ideas or anything they would like us to cover, anybody would like to render their services, lend us their services, let us
Yes,
know.
please. Yeah.
It takes a village, and we're here. So thanks everybody for
Thank you
watching.
guys for
Thanks
having
for being
me.
here. Good
Thank
night.